all growth comes outside of your comfort zone, and transitions are uncomfortable. We live
Mhm.
and die by them. We live and die by transitions.
Mhm.
And this might be the time to start looking for subluxation in your practice. For those of you
Right.
listening, like always keep an eye out for it, but this is a good time for it.
Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We're here to lead you on the way. All right, welcome back to Build Your Remarkable Practice, and it is 2026, and I am
Here we
back
are.
with Dr. Chris Grier, and we were offline having some great conversations, so I'm excited to have the conversation we're going to have this morning about transitions.
Yes.
And what more of a transition than coming into the new year and full speed ahead on your vision, and at the same time knowing things are going to change, right?
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
Chris, why don't you tee us up a little bit? Why are we talking about transitions this morning?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Here we are. We're recording this in the first week of the year 2026. I don't know if you guys have been feeling in your practice that, things change and things shift. And, for that, whether it's practice members or whether it's team, things tend to have these natural moments of of shift. And I think the first of the year is one of those. In fact, I think people look for change and simplicity a lot at the first part of the year. I
Yeah.
think
Like
that,
clean house.
yeah,
Like,
clean
yeah.
house, clean house. I think the opposite ends of that is like September and March. That's where people really look to build. Um, they
Mhm.
really look to change some things. So I think we need to be conscious of that, both in our practice population, like this is what people that we're caring for are going through, and asking the right questions visit to visit with them. And I think perhaps what we're going to focus on here with the business owners and on the podcast is how do we do that when it's our team, when it's ourself, when it, those sorts of more intrinsic things to the practice. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. And
Yeah.
let's talk about transition, Dr. Lona.
Yeah. I love that. That's so true that our practice members are going through it. And in fact, that is life, right? Like we can have a plan. We all know like 2020 was a great example of like we all set a forecast of what 2020 was going to look like in our mind. And then it maybe looked somewhat similar on paper, but it was radically different than probably what any of us came into that year looking at. And so this ability to like hold things loose enough to allow them to change and not have it feel like you're totally beat up in the process,
Yes.
I think is a really important skill set as a business owner and just a person going through life. And I think we can feel that on our people when we're putting our hands on people too. Sometimes when there's just this like white knuckling of life's experiences, and there certainly can be that in business as well. As you were saying that, Chris, I was thinking about last year, and we put on an event up here for chiropractors and for our public. It was called Reclamation. We're having it again in a few weeks. And really just to bring that philosophy into our community deeper and whatnot. But what was funny at the end of the event, one of my mentors and friends said to me, wow, like that was so great. Like, what's going to happen next, and what does it look like next? And I said, oh, yeah, I don't know, and we were just kind of spitballing back and forth. And one of the things I said to him was like, gosh, my team feels so stable. Right. And he was like, well, that's going to change. And I was like, oh, Dr. John, don't say that to me, And he's like, it's got to. It always does. We go through these seasons of like, yeah, stability and then instability and then metamorphosis, essentially, right? Well, sure enough, like several months later, here we are birthing ourselves out of another cocoon of change, transition. We have two docs that are getting married, moving to Colorado. So we're replacing two docs on the team at once. And so that's a big transition for some practices, right? And I know you've gone through something similar in the last 6 months too. So let's just talk about owner headspace when you know an A player or a core person on your roster is leaving for various reasons. Like, how do you first of all prepare yourself for what you're going to need to do from a leadership standpoint?
Yeah. I think the first spot I want to start, I guess, with that is to actually have some organization to your organization, like to your company to begin with, which gives you a sense of what people are really accountable for. I mean, I know on this podcast we're talking to people who are solo practitioners, maybe even students looking to get into practice. People who've been in practice, whether solo or with an associate for a while. There's a wide range of folks, but all of us in the end are going to be part of a business, right? Whether we own it, whether we are an associate in it, however we're involved. And I think so many small businesses and small practices function without an idea of who's accountable to what.
Yes.
And the point that I'm wanting to make there is when that's the case and a person transitions out, it's usually after they're gone that you figure out what they were actually accountable to. Oh,
Yes.
that's not getting done. Oh, that's not getting done. Oh, shoot, they were really good at that. Or, oh gosh, I had my eyes totally off of that, but they messed that up for 2 years,
Yes.
like, oh, this is so having an accountability structure prior to any transition, and we know transition can happen at any moment.
Yeah.
So having that accountability structure prior to that is really important, which means get it now. Like here at the beginning of the year, like get some accountability structure
Mhm.
now. And if you already have it, lean into it again. Look at that again. We have a tool called the
Right, it's
accountability
not something you
grid.
set and you're done with, right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The tool we use through the Remarkable Practice is the accountability grid. Definitely my favorite tool that we have because it just provides so much clarity to everybody on the team about what they're accountable to. So I guess that's the first thing. Then when somebody is getting ready to transition, ideally you have clear enough expectations, agreements, and a good enough relationship with your people on your team that
Right.
there's some time, that there's some months that we know that that's coming, and then we can set up a plan for their transition. Now, I know that the ideal is that you've got somebody that comes in and there's a couple of months overlap. The person who's going out can train the person who's coming in. That's really the ideal. Like you said, I'm going through this too. It's not what my practice needed at that time. Dr. Ryan, who was a great associate for me for over 4 years, staying closer to home now. Now the family's growing, all of that sort of stuff. But it wasn't the right time in my practice to transition to another person at that point. So we had a transition plan of, okay, here's everything that Dr. Ryan's accountable to.
Yeah.
Now, who on the team is going to take those things?
Mm.
I guess those are the things. When you have accountability structure, it makes transition way easier. When you don't, man, there's just a lot of pieces to pick up after the fact. And I've done that too, believe me. I've definitely done that. So,
Yep. Same. And that's a painful place because sometimes that's why they're transitioning is you woke up and realized things weren't happening the way that you thought they were. And that whose fault is it? Yours, right? You as the business owner get to always look back at yourself in the process of like, okay, where did I lose control? Where did I lose oversight? Where did I not have structures in place that need to happen? And then the key thing is as we make the transition and recognize there's a problem here, we don't keep that pattern going. And if you need help figuring out, because sometimes it's like, I don't know how to fix this. I've gone through two office managers and had similar experiences, or I've gone through whatever team member, and I'm starting to recognize a pattern. Likely there's some foundational things that need to change in how we do leadership and accountability and visibility in the practice in order to not have that pattern continue.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And those are the things we talk about, like, oh, some schools have business programs, some schools, chiropractic schools don't have business programs, or some are stronger and some are not. The reality is I don't know of a school that has such a lockdown business program that people come out of school actually knowing these things.
Yeah,
And that's
and on some level, how could you, right? You
right.
need some experience likely. It's like the theory of it versus the
Yeah.
actual walking it out.
Right. There's theory, then there's practice, then
Yes.
there's mastery,
Yeah.
and there's no way you come out even with the practice of doing it, let alone the mastery.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we need better structures in chiropractic for support of young practitioners and young practices. And I think TRP serves a vital spot with
Yeah.
that for sure. And I think that more people need to lean into mentoring newer chiropractors. I'd say younger chiropractors, but there's a lot of chiropractors who are coming out who aren't that young,
Right.
but who are still new
Second
to it.
careers. Yep. Yes, definitely. You said something earlier when you were talking about the sense of it wasn't what my practice needed wasn't to jump into the next associate in this moment, and so there is an intuitive sense that I want to lean into sometimes because we can get very left-brained about this and it's an important element to have the structure and the understanding. And then there's also the part that is right brain or intuitive or like felt sense about. Yes, with the vision that I hold and the tone of my practice right now and the tone of the rest of my team right now, what is actually best for this practice? Is it that we replace, this person transitioning? Is it two people that need to be hired? Or do we hunker in and we're lean for a while and we clean up some things or we reroute and we move on? And I know I've been through seasons where it was like we actually run lean, we get some foundational things set, and then when we are maybe not in flight or fight, we then make the next hire. And I see that a lot that people are hiring in desperation or feeling like they must. And generally that doesn't lead to great hires, I don't believe.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to kind of explain how you knew that it was I'm going to take on more of the load again and then I'll prepare myself for whatever the next phase will be.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And for me, so on PDPs, you have this logic sense of whether you're more logical or you're more feely.
Mhm.
We're all in chiropractic, and I found that almost all the PDPs I look at have that feeling sense as
Yeah.
the strongest, which makes total sense. It's one of the reasons we were attracted to doing this, right? To doing
Yes.
chiropractic. And I'm known in TRP as the professor, and I'm the metrics guy. It's all about that. But this was a felt thing for me. It was like, I as I looked over the previous couple of years of the practice and looked at how our everything felt in the practice, how our retention felt, how our new patient process felt, all of that, it just became super clear to me like, okay, I need to put my hands on this more. As Depending on what your goals are in practice, you might want to be more involved or less involved. My goal in my practice is to be kind of in that middle range of like, I want to see patients. And now that I'm back seeing patients even more, I'm like, oh gosh, this is so much fun. We were talking about this a little bit. Like, this is easy. It's fun. The easy stuff is the seeing the patients once you've mastered the ability to do that. And so there may have been some amount of selfishness with me with how kind of scattered life had gotten with coaching and with the business and with the family and there's some other things going on. There might have been some selfishness of like, oh, that's my rock. Like that's my place of solitude is to go and put hands on people and adjust them. So there may have been some of that, but I also think that it definitely was like, okay, the practice just feels a little slippery right now. It doesn't feel like it's completely grounded, and that's the sense that I had on it, like, literally, like, this slipperiness instead of this solid, like, "Oh, this thing is just sitting there." Uh,
Yeah.
so that's what made me wanna really dig back in.
Thank you for that. I think that's such a like honest answer. And I know I have recognized that in transitions for us. I can remember when we were staying offline where it just felt we had a doc that was leaving. It just felt like the right thing for me to do was to reroute the practice at that moment. And it was a season. It was like 5 or 6 months where it was just all me again. And when I say all me, I mean as the hands, right? As the
Yeah.
hands. And it was a beautiful season. And then all of a sudden it became like, and now it's time to add the associate again. And now as we have multiple doctors, I was telling you that as we've gone through this transition, there's equal parts of like, okay, we can put our ducks in a row. We can know like the structure that this person will come into and likely where they're going to fit and what type of personality and skill set we're hiring. And then you watch, right? Because it is an intuitive thing. It's like, can this contract get in place? Does the contract feel hard? What's the timeline that's showing up? And I'm very cautious because I haven't been at times and I've paid for it to not force things and to not try and either force a hire or force a timeline. And that's that trust, that's that faith. Like here we are in chiropractic saying the power that made the body heals the body. And we're preaching it in our practices and in our communities. And I'm here to tell you that the power that works through your practice is making your practice as well, right? So if we can't
Yes.
work with that and not think that we're smarter than it,
Mhm.
like, ugh, like we're so good at seeing it possibly at play as it relates to health and well-being. But can you use that same source to recognize the pattern in your practice, just like the pattern on the spine, right?
Yeah,
And not try and force an adjustment, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, going into ease, adjusting into ease instead of into stuckness, into
Yes. Yes,
yeah,
or have to-ness, yeah, so,
right.
and that's the gift, that's the art form of, I think, doing business with the philosophy that we have too, is, like, we prepare, we plan, and then we hold it loosely enough that, you know, what's meant to come through and the right people that will be attracted in, and, then we can really see it, right?
Yes, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it, for sure, and I think that we can get really heady about being business owners and, running teams and all of that sort of thing, and the reality is I think we do need to go back to what makes us chiropractors, just like you said, and realize that, oh, this is all an organic thing. It's all
Yeah.
an energetic thing. And
Yes.
there's really no difference in any of it, of course, because it's all it.
Speaking similar languages, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And then I think also, the term of subluxation, maybe we should go there a little bit because in times of transition, sometimes transitions come to you, like it did with my associate. Sometimes you get to be the person who creates transition.
Yes. Right.
And I think this time of year is a real natural time. And I think we always need to be mindful of it, but this is a natural time of year to look for subluxations in the practice.
Mhm.
And sometimes that creates transitions, and that can be either just for everyone listening, like we're talking about people transition, team transition, but you can have procedure transition, you can
Yes.
have technique transition, you could have all
Technology transition,
yes,
which also can feel
absolutely.
painful. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And that's the thing, like transitions are painful. I think that's just an inherent part of it. Like there's some amount of discomfort that comes with transition.
Yeah.
And Dr. David Fletcher taught me years and years ago that all growth comes outside of your comfort zone. You
Yes.
know, uh, when I still remember 2008 doing, Total Solution and Patrick Gentempo and David
Yeah.
Fletcher were like, this is the thing. And I remember a lot of things from that weekend, but that particular chart has just stuck with me forever because it is so simple. All growth comes outside of your comfort zone, and transitions are uncomfortable. We
Mhm.
live and die by them. We live and die by transitions.
Mhm.
And this might be the time to start looking for subluxation in your practice for those of you
Right.
listening. Like always keep an eye out for it, but this is a good time for it.
Yep. And to that point, you said it perfectly, is like, you can have the discomfort of growth and you have the discomfort of not growing. Like they're both painful. They're just painful in different ways, right?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of that resiliency piece, knowing that, you may look around you in your practice. That Chris, you said you're on 19 years. We just this week are celebrating 16 years. And some practices are lucky enough to have people that are there the entirety of most of those years. And then most of us have transitions, lots of transitions potentially. And knowing that, like, sometimes it's a lonely place of like, oh, here I am again. It's me and my great team. But at the end of the day, you're the one that is the root, the solidest, probably, or the most solid root for the practice. And that is part of just embracing that, right? Like we get to do this thing called being a business owner. We get to attract teams, whether it's for a long season, a short season, and they're stepping into whatever's right for them. And again, going back to that trust in like, well, I always say, like, whoever lays on your table is meant for you. Well, whoever shows up on your team on some level is
Yes.
meant for you, right? And it might be teaching you something new about your leadership. Again, if we lean in, then we get to like kind of decide how that story in our mind plays out, whether it's a very negative or dramatic story versus like, I learned something here. This was a tough season, but I embraced it. Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
for
Oh,
sure.
such a raw conversation and so necessary
Mm,
because we all are going to go through many different transitions, especially in the different seasons that our practices go through: launch, build, scale, and eventually exit. Uh,
yes.
and if we don't think about these things, then I think the change feels even harder than it has to.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any
As
last words of wisdom there?
Yeah, I was gonna say as we wrap, let's give the listeners 3 things,
Mhm.
okay? Like, what we've just gone through there. And if you're walking away from it like, "Oh, wow, that felt good, but I need to go back and listen," please do, like, go back and listen. And I think there's 3 action steps that you need to take, which is first one is have that accountability in place. Like, if you don't, get it, and if you do have it, revisit it. This is the right time to do that. Second thing being, look for the subluxations in your practice. Where are they? Whether it's your leadership or whether it's the team or whether it's your systems, whether it's your technology, you can look for those subluxations anywhere. And then the third thing is, and the most immediate, which you can do right now if you're listening to this on the way to work or whatever, but talk with your people right now about what transitions they're in and future pace them in your practice. Okay. As we're talking about this at the end of this year, what do you want to see have happened in your life? What are your goals, whether that's health or habits or energetics or whatever? Talk to people right now about that because that's going to solidify you as their guide, not just as their spinal technician.
Mhm.
Really, I can't emphasize that enough. You need to be people's guides because people need guidance. And this, in their times of transition, is a really great time to do that.
Yeah, and as you said that, I'm thinking, and same with your team, right? As they tell you what they want in their life, how does their working alongside you bring more of that, right? And that's that
Yes.
guidance as well. So good.
Excellent.
Those are great, Chris. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. It's always great to be on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, right back at you. And Chris is going to be back on in a few weeks here, and so we will see you again this spring.
All right. Sounds good.
All
We'll see
right.
y'all soon.
Thanks, Chris.
You bet.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, please click the links in the show notes to schedule a call.